All right, here we are, Celtics live, post-game, Game 2 loss to the Nets, and I don't know, man, it's so weird. It's so weird because I don't expect to win these games. My expectations aren't let's kick the Nets' ass, right? But then I go and watch the outcomes of these games and watch how they play and watch what happens, and all of a sudden I'm nitpicking, getting frustrated because this wasn't just, no, the Celtics didn't play that great. The Nets are a better team. Here we go, whatever. Too bad, right? No, this is Joe Harris going off against you, the guy that literally, by multiple stats, is the best three-point shooter in the NBA, and somehow, some way, he's just walking around wide open all game long, especially in the first half. And then you have Blake Griffin going off, but Blake Griffin looking like what? 2013, 2014 Blake Griffin? It's like somehow, some way, even when I don't expect that much, it comes to a point where I'm still frustrated with what happens and the outcome that occurs here. But yeah, we're a little frustrated here. But again, expectations aren't all that high, but we're still scraping the bottom of the barrel with how frustrating this is. But anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in to the show. Even though it's a tough loss, let's hit that like button on the stream and let's make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed already. And let's get right into the box score so we can get into some of the chat. All right. So, again, big ass whooping there. 130-108. Nets took us down. Evan Fournier, 16 points. Marcus Smart led the way, 19. Kemba with 17. Tristan Thompson, 15. A dud out of Tatum, and I know he got hurt. I know Tatum got poked in the eye, and whatever. If it's a bad injury, if it's a tough injury, if it stinks, I get it. But, he was not having the best game to begin with, so I was a little frustrated there. But I'm not ready to rag on a guy that got injured right away, I guess. But outside of that, no one really did anything. 2 points from Jabari in 7 minutes. Robert Williams made a little bit of an impact, not as much of an impact as last game. And then you had Peyton Pritchard, Romeo Langford combining for 6 points. I mean, the rest was garbage time here. But if we flash over to the Nets side of things, Durant goes for 26. James Harden goes for 20. Kyrie Irving goes for 15. You would always take that. If you were to tell me pregame, hey, hold Durant to 26, hold James Harden to 20, hold Kyrie Irving to 15, I would have told you, let's go, the Celtics won this game. No. You have Blake Griffin, 2013 Blake Griffin, 11 points there. That's not the bad news. The bad news is Joe Harris going for 25, 7 of 10 from 3 on you. And honestly, every one of those 3-point makes, barely contested. That's the frustration there. But let's get into this on the chat. Let's see what we got going on here. Gear says, didn't expect much, and I'm still disappointed. That's what it is. It's even when I don't expect that much, I'm just frustrated. It's I expected a little bit more. And let's flash back to I don't know, a few games ago, and we're talking about, what I expect from this series, right? I asked, just fight, compete. I get it. Jason Tatum goes out. I get it. You don't have Jaylen Brown this entire series. All things considered, the Celtics are pretty much in the hole to begin with. But it just seems like they're not doing anything right, especially this game. It's they just got whooped by Joe freaking Harris. Kyrie Irving had 15 points. It wasn't the Nets' big three that, oh my God, we can't compete with that big three. No. But needless to say, I do agree with didn't expect much, and I'm still disappointed. Because I don't expect much. I haven't expected much, and I'm still fired up about it, which, I don't know, maybe that's my fault, I guess. Michael saying 1, 2, 3 Cancun. Gear says Thompson looked pretty good. I would not be against Grant Hill playing a little more small ball center. I mean, or Grant Williams. I don't know why I say Grant Hill. I mean, I'm not opposed to Grant Williams playing anymore. I mean, I am opposed, but at this point, it's well, if Robert Williams is going to have, I guess, the injuries, and we're worried about him being healthy, and they're really managing his time, right? He's playing 16 minutes tonight. You're gonna have to have someone else that you can throw in there. Jabari Parker, clearly Brad Stevens doesn't trust. So if it's Grant Williams, fine, but I don't think you're any closer to winning the series by playing Grant Williams. Does that make sense? Fab saying my prediction came true. Nets come out from the beginning and spanked us by 22. Not upset as unusually would be in the postseason. See, when I look at the game, okay, we're down 2 out of the Nets, right? That doesn't frustrate me. It's that Game 1, you maybe could have pulled some positives from, right? Like, oh my God, they were leading for some of the game. Robert Williams had 9 blocks. You did all that even without Tatum or Kemba or Fournier really doing something. This game, it's like, okay, well, now you experienced all that. You know you can maybe hang with this team. Use that verbiage. And then no one comes out firing. Like, the Celtics come out flat again. Joe Harris goes off. He's the one guy that you know, okay, he's going to hover on the three-point line and get open and shoot if he's open. Don't let that happen. So, again, I expected the outcome. But watching it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So maybe I'm being a little spoiled brat here, and it's like, come on, Ev, like, calm down. You knew this was going to happen. But still, I'm watching. Maybe the Celtics team still has me tricked into thinking, you know what? We can win every single game. Because I shouldn't be that shocked. But here we are. But it's just so annoying. Ubi says, what's up with Tatum? You got poked in the eye, not... You got poked in the eye, not to show some heart. You've already getting blown out. I mean, see, I don't know if because when he got poked in the eye, I was like, come on, dude, you got poked in the eye. Like, I get it, that stinks. It hurts. You probably hurt vision, but to fall out of bounds, I was frustrated. And I was like, dude, you're supposed to be the guy. Like, you can't go down to an eye poke, right? But then I saw him come back on the bench, and his eye looked pretty effed up. Again, it's still a poke in the eye. Like, I've never been poked in the eye at NBA level speed, but I've been poked in the eye before, and to me, it's not like, okay, you know what, let me take a few days off now because I got poked in the eye. It probably sucks, and I gotta criticize him where I feel fit. Maybe you guys don't like this, but it does seem like a soft move for me for him to truly just, like, give up on the game. And I get it. His eye came back. That was the one piece of, like, sort of in his defense. I saw him get poked in the eye. He comes back to the bench, and his eye was still red. That was like a half hour later. I mean, I'm making that time up. It's probably 10 minutes later, and it was still red and swollen. Fine. Maybe it was really, really bad eye poke. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass here. Maybe I'm the dick. But I just feel like when playoff basketball comes around, maybe I'm just thinking like old school. You just can't let a eye poke do you in like that, you know? Nate said, what is Tatum doing? Ubi said, we have no chance anyways, but the refs let the Nets be a lot more physical than the Celtics. Yeah, and so jumping to Tatum's defense again, and I saw this tweeted out from multiple places. Look at what James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie do and what they do to get calls. Tatum does, like, just as much or sometimes, you know, gets hit even harder and doesn't get the calls. Like, this game early on was, you know, they called the early foul on Smart on Kyrie and then another one on Durant. I was like, come on. Like, I get this. I get superstars treatment. Whatever. Refs want to please superstars. Fine. But to make it so lopsided, and it wasn't even like lopsided in the fact that, you know, oh, the Nets shot more foul shots than the Celtics. That didn't happen. But the types of fouls that were being called, I just had a little frustration with. But I don't think the refs honestly had anything much to do with the outcome. Like, I think the Celtics kind of flopped here. MT says, KD, Kyrie, and Harden, none of which took more than 12 shots. They combined for 61. Tatum, since the 3-for-3 start in game 1, he has gone 6 of 29. That ain't it. That is tough. Ubi says, trade everyone but JT, JB, and Rob. Sweaty says, God, can we just end this series? I just want to get to the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, let's... Even Scal's talking at the end of the game, and he's just like, yeah, it's going to be tough when Brooklyn plays Milwaukee. How often... That's how determined this is. And not to sound like a Debbie Downer, but that's how determined this is. The home broadcast is saying, yeah, well, next round, the team that, you know, we're playing against, meaning AK, it's a game and a half into the series, and you're already talking this series is over. But crazier things have, maybe not, but crazier things have happened. So I'm still watching every game. I'm still ready to devote myself to this team. But if we have to be realistic, like, come on, it ain't happening. F says, I think Brad didn't bother putting Tatum back as a lost cause. That's fair. That is fair. I'll give that. But at the same time, like, what, you think the team's getting any better or any chance? Like, does that mean did everyone just give up on this? Because it's okay for me to sit here with a mic, and it's okay for you guys to be in the chat and talk about it. I don't think it's okay for the players and coaches to be like, hey, yep, adios, we're done. You know what I mean? Like, they should keep playing. Ben says, we got spanked and went down with a whimper. Time for major changes coming from the owners. Yeah, seriously, it's this... And it sounds like they're planning on running back pretty much what they got type of thing. That doesn't seem like it's okay to me. It really doesn't seem like it's okay to me. Guys, if you are watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on Periscope, Twitch, Facebook, wherever you're watching, make sure to head over to YouTube. That is where we're trying to focus the show's audience here, so hit that subscribe button over there. I tweeted out the link, or just search Guy Boston Sports in YouTube, and wouldn't you know it, we got more people in the chat right now than liking the stream. Come on now, let's hit that like button. Ubi says, this game was shit, but I took Fournier over 4 rebounds, and that was the only thing left on my parlay, and he couldn't do that either, so I'm mad times 2. Heshi says, we kept Gordon, wish we kept Gordon instead of getting Kemba. Moon says, average height of the Celtics fourth quarter was 5'2", and Grant Williams, the 4'11" big man we had out there. Jason says, Brad doesn't have a rotation. You don't know who he will play. Yeah, it's kind of tough. David Richards says, Katie should have been ejected. Birkin says, unleash Romeo. Give him all the confidence and win him for next year. I mean, at this point, you do have to start building. If Romeo or Neesmith or Pritchard, like, give them the minutes. You know what I mean? Like, when applicable. Like, Romeo got in there. He actually made a little bit of an impact, in my opinion. Same with Neesmith. But Pritchard seems like he just goes from being Brad's favorite player to in Brad's doghouse. It's so weird. I really don't get it. Ben says, I'm in London and I'm disappointed as you. MT saying, fully expect the Boston faithful to bring that fire for Game 3 and let's have it. Or the Celtics, at least that's something to look forward to, I guess. I'll say this. I think the fans are going to be a factor, but that'll be where I get to, okay, maybe even if the Celtics play really, really well, it's still going to be tough to beat the Nets. I mean, even Brad Stevens said that. Oh, we're going to have to play great. This team's, I can't envision them losing. Exactly what you want to hear your coach say heading into Warrior. Steven says, Tatum is shooting 28% from the field in the series. No excuses. Nate says, Kobe shot free throws with a torn ACL and guys are leaving the games with taped elbows and poked eyes. Bunch of wimps. Jason said, I would have quit watching these scrubs on the court with Tatum. Ray saying, why is Kemba Walker even on this team? I'm tired of his bum knee excuse. Freaking play normal already. He's freaking 21. They're treating his ass like he's 57. Barry says, I'm a Nets fan, but I still don't think the series is over. That's good. Like, I to be honest, we've seen, you got poking the eye tonight, but Tatum's the one thing Celtics fans, and that I'm still clinging on to for any sort of like, oh, let's take a positive, because I'll say this, Barry, I think the series is over, but it might not be a sweep. Like, I can totally see Tatum coming home and going off for, 55, and that could just be enough to say, okay, you know what, Celtics going to take this one. Tatum, it's not like this team, and now I don't know if what if the eye keeps him out longer? Like, that'd be ridiculous. But we do at least have the guy on the team. You have your technical most important player on your team. Tatum can just absolutely win a game himself, and I'm hoping he does. Like, I feel like he's going to get sort of mad that, oh my God, I'm stinking in the series. At least let me go off once. And it goes back to something we've talked about earlier in the year, and it shows, I feel like Celtics fans, including myself, can never be happy. Earlier in the year, we were ragging on some of these shots, like the ISO ball, the ISO ball, the ISO ball. Pass the ball, at least move the ball. Now I'm at the point where, you know what? I kind of want Tatum to get the ball a lot and then go try and score, because everything else that they're trying to do really isn't working that well. I'm not saying every trip down the court go do that, but one point to consider too is that Jason Tatum getting the ball once every, X amount of possessions, the Nets, everybody in the building is looking at that going, okay, well, Tatum hasn't touched the ball in 3 possessions. He's getting the ball this possession. What do we think he's going to do? Try and score. So now the Nets are just literally not playing the pass and waiting for him to try and score. If Tatum was at least getting, and I don't know how your best player isn't getting a touch every possession, but if Tatum was at least getting a touch every single possession, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe he'll get the ball and pass. Maybe he'll do this, or maybe he's going to try and score. Maybe he's going to try and pull up. It's so ass backwards the way this team does it. Speaking of ass backwards, in a similar vein, but not really that similar, Evan Fournier talks smack to Kevin Durant. The one, I got pumped about it, right? Durant flopped. Evan Fournier got pumped. He got pumped. And what does he say? He talks back to one of the best players in the league. He has the biggest balls for that, right? And I heard him say, shut the F up, and I didn't hear it, but tried to read his lips. 1 play, 2 plays, whatever it was later, Fournier's sitting on the bench. And to me, it's like, okay, Brad, your team literally is showing the opposite of fight. Like, this Celtics team right now, including the coach, is doing their best impersonation of those guys that roll the red carpet out, at these award ceremonies for celebrities. The limo door's open and that red carpet better be clean as hell. That's what you're doing right now. One guy says, hey, you know what, Durant? Screw you. I've had enough. No flopping, blah, blah, blah. Yells at him and doesn't back down. Most guys in that situation would be like, oh man, Durant's talking to me? No, Fournier. Just so, no, shut the F up, man. Like, don't even talk to me like that. Whatever. Brad sits him. What are we doing? The guy had, like, he's showing, it's not like, oh my God, Fournier wasn't playing well, we had to sit him. Everyone was playing crappy. Play the guy that has some fire. I don't know. Like, not that would have impacted the game, but it just shows how ass backwards some of these decisions are. Donald said there's always next season. Greg says stop watching at halftime, and I'm glad I did. Yeah, it's gotten to the point of, like, these games legit, like, sometimes when they roll over and die, and I get it, the Nets are so good. But if you watch the game close enough like I do, you can see these parts of the game where it's like, okay, yeah, the Celtics maybe are just playing against a team that is way better than them. Like, come on, let's be honest. But some of the things that happen, it's like, well, did you want to try? You want to show a little effort? Like, I get it. You might still get beat by 20, but you're not going to get beat by 40. Like, it drives me nuts. And maybe I'm nitpicking. I started the show saying, here I am nitpicking, but that's just how I feel. And I'm being honest. That's how I keep it on the show. You guys know that. Fab says, got to play a perfect shooting game for any chance to win. Tracy's saying JB gets the same treatment where it's like they forgot they have him on the team. And that's what I don't get. Tatum and Jaylen, when Jaylen Brown was playing, like, Jaylen Brown literally would go fourth quarters without touching the ball. Tatum at least gets his touches, but it does not make sense to me. It's so easy. Like, I'm not saying I could cover Jason Tatum. Probably could. But you give Jason Tatum the ball once every few possessions, what do you think he's going to do? He's a scorer. The other team knows, okay, well, he's going to try and go score. Ubi says, he said, shut up. I never said, shit, you don't talk to me like that. Yeah, Fournier showed the fire, and it just pissed me off that Brad sat him. It may have had literally nothing to do with the game. Like, maybe it had nothing to do with the impact of the game. But just, was he getting reprimanded? Was Brad like, no. I just talked about how great this Nets team is. Don't talk bad to them, Evan. Give me a break. MT says the fans will be calling for Brad Danny's head if the Celts play anything like tonight. Many are already, but I imagine with almost 20,000 fans out there upset, it'll be rowdier in there no matter what. So, yeah, and I think that was a good point brought up earlier, too. It's like these fans, what is it, Friday? These fans are Thursday. These fans are either going to go in on the Nets or in on the Celts. Like, it's going one way or the other. These fans aren't going to be quiet, jam-packed, and maybe that'll be good. Like, I know the Celtics got booed before, but maybe it'll be good to, like, be like, oh, wow. Like, hey, if there's and I'm just using this as an example, and I'll tell you guys, I'm like 95% on the, Brad Stevens. I would love another coach. I'm not 100%, but as close as I'm going to get, to be honest. And it doesn't sound like that's going to even be a possibility. Danny even said, like, he's not the issue. But wouldn't it change Wick's mind or Danny's mind if they're sitting there and 20,000 people are saying, F you, Brad? He's all of a sudden like, oh, well, wow, okay, well, maybe I believe in Brad, but this team relies on their fan base. They pretty much pay all of our checks. It'd be interesting to see. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I imagine them having either no fans or a limited capacity. They haven't quite heard the roars, even though they got booed earlier in the year. Ben saying, we need to be swept to the gulf between us and the best in the East. It makes it impossible for an owners not to act. Yeah, and again, like, the play-in game, when they look good there, I'm almost like cringing because I'm like, that makes it seem like they have what it takes to do this. And every time they have a little bit of positive, it's going to tell Danny Ainge that, maybe we'll run it back this next year, or run it back like this next year. Maybe we'll try and get one little piece or whatever. No, something big needs to happen. And maybe if you rip off the Band-Aid, it's like, okay, well, we can't just ignore this cut on our arm. You took the Band-Aid off. There's no, like, treatment to it. All of a sudden, you got to do something about this. I'm not just going to go, okay, I'll better next year. No. If we just say, hey, all right, boom, have a fun vacation, Celtics. All of a sudden, it's a longer off season for Danny to start thinking about this team. Ubi says, trade Kemba in the off season. So here's my thing with Kemba, and you guys know I've tried to defend him, have defended him. I've gotten pretty frustrated with him because, and I see Ubi saying too, down 30 and he's laughing like F off. That frustrates the hell out of me. If I'm being honest, though, one thing about trading Kemba is I don't know, like, what you could get or who you would get. Like, I don't really know who wants Kemba Walker around the league right now. especially with how the Celtics like have clearly babied his knee, maybe for right reasons, but it's like them trying to preserve Kemba has definitely hurt his trade value because now a team's looking like, okay, you didn't play a single back-to-back all year long. Like, I'm not trading for you. And at that point, are you just going to get some Joe Schmoes that really don't even help the team? At least right now, Kemba maybe can give you a 30-point night, right? So I'm on the fence on trading him. I mean, if you were to tell me you can get a like caliber player, veteran, has all-star experience, playoff experience, hell, like I'm not against trading Kemba anymore. But I do think it's going to be pretty damn hard to find a suitor for him if I'm being completely honest. Like I don't think many teams are going to have see Kemba Walker on the trade block and say, hey, let's go get him. In fact, we'll overpay. We'll give you anything. No. So if you're just going to trade him to get him off the team, it's going to be tough to convince me of that. Moon saying Tatum's probably hanging out with Kyrie right now, burning sage and talking shit about Brad Stevens. How about this? So I saw a podcast clip. The name of the $1 million worth of game. So they had Tatum on. I honestly don't know much about the podcast, but it's a funny podcast. Tatum was on there, and it sounded like it was recorded fairly recently. And they said, who are your top 5 hardest guys to cover in the league? Or something like this, paraphrasing. And he named Harden, Durant, Kyrie within it, and I think it was like Steph and LeBron maybe. He named those guys. How are you about to go to war against these guys and you name them? Like, talk about saying, hey, you guys are amazing, like, bow down to you. You put them in your top 5 hardest to cover, and you're about to play them in a playoff series. I don't know, maybe I have the timing of that recording off or whatever, but seeing that when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, what's worse, that or Brad Stevens saying, yeah, they're probably not going to lose. We got to play great if they're going to lose. It's like, dude, you're playing that team. Gear says, as much as we can talk about Jalen versus Kemba, I think we need to focus on how much easier Jalen makes Kemba's job. Yeah, if they could play together too. But, I mean, it's true. Like, to be honest, I know I'm up here getting red as hell over here, like the new Celtics logo there, the green lobster. But the Celtics are missing, their second best player. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. On some nights, he's their best player. I get that that's a huge caveat, and I know I'm not really totally answering the question here, but Kemba might look worse because Jalen's not out there. Tatum might look worse because Jalen's not out there. Like, it's harder for everyone, so it's a fair point. Ray says, I hope that your buddy that comes on here sometimes to replace you starts sounding more exciting. LO, I felt bad from the other day. There are only 9 people watching. Sounds like a nice guy, though. If you're talking about KJ does an awesome job. He'll probably be covered in some of the upcoming shows, too. I mean, it's tough. It's he does a great job, though. I mean, if it wasn't excited, it's probably because the Celtics lost game 1. Like, it is tough to come on here and talk about a loss that has no true storylines. Like, I'll talk out of my ass and say that I'm pissed about this and that, and then get excited as I start to deep dive into it. But, I mean, it's not easy to do, but I think KJ does a great job of it. News says, firing Danny is the only way to win any... Hold on. Firing Danny is the only way anything major changes. All right, firing Danny is the only way to make a major change. I think the coach goes before the GM like 9.99999 times out of 10 in this league. So it's like weird for me to conceptualize Danny getting fired before Brad gets fired. So maybe it'll be a domino effect. Maybe it'll be a clearinghouse. But I mean, usually you see the coach go first. You're saying let the new GM hire a new coach. So yeah, if you go fire Brad, fire Danny at the same time, it'd be wild, but that's fair. But usually you fire the coach, get a new one in there, get Danny some time with that coach, that type of thing. But I mean, I'm just looking for someone to take the team and go, wake up or change something. Like, that's what I'm looking for. And sounds like all the reporting and whatnot sounds like they're really trying to just run it back next year because all these excuses. Which drives me nuts that's where this is now. That's truly where I guess the Celtics fans have gone to of all these excuses. Well, now it's okay to lose because Jalen's out. Fournier had COVID. It's like, I get it. All these excuses are valid, but it doesn't just write off all of the negative. Like, it's still okay to be frustrated with the excuses in mind, but still want better basketball and has Brad Stevens been sick? Has Brad Stevens gotten COVID? Did he break his wrist? No, so why is he lacking? Just, you can always make an argument for anyone making the excuse, but vice versa too. If I say the Celtics suck, The excuse crowd could be like, oh, well, they don't have Jaylen Brown. So you got to be somewhere in between and roll with the punches, because right now this fan base seems so divided. It's like the people that are like, oh my God, all these excuses, nothing happened bad this year. It was really COVID. It was no fans. It was the injuries. It was this, blah, blah, blah. And then you have the screw this team. I hope they all die, blow it up. It's like, no, you got to be somewhere in between. You got to be the screw this team, because this team definitely did not rise to expectations. But, I hear those excuses, and I understand that makes a lot of sense as to why we ended up here. Or you could be hey, these are all the excuses, but at the same time, like, I know there's some stuff that's just not excusable. Meet somewhere in between. Gear says, look at the Nets, a mainly ISO team like the Celtics have been, while they come out tonight with good ball movement. With good ball movement. Do you credit the coaches or the players passing better on the Nets? It's tough. So I would honestly, I know this is going to go against my Brad take, but I think that when you have guys that draw so much attention, like Durant, like Kyrie, and James Harden's all these guys are good passers. It's much easier to pass and move the ball like that when I feel like the defense is so worried about, 60% of your lineup out there. So I'm going to credit the players there. I don't think Steve Nash, even though he was a great ball mover in his career, I don't know if he's the guy that's doing that, because and that's just me maybe not knowing enough about his coaching style yet as his first year, So I'm going to credit the players just because it's got to be easy for Durant to stand there at 7 feet tall like this and just have guys rush at him, and he's like, get off, and then just passes to the open guy. That doesn't seem like the hardest job to me, but maybe it's a little mix of both. Ubi says, defending him in the regular season is fine, but it's clear he isn't a playoff performer, and he's defensive liability. Yeah, Kemba, he is, but I just don't want to trade him for a hot bag of shit on your doorstep, It's like, what's the point of that then? So if they can get something that'll help this team, then sure. MT saying maybe package Brad Kemba some picks and see what we can get. There we go. Talk about shaking things up. You get rid of one of your stars. You get rid of your golden coach. And then you package some picks, which I don't believe the Celtics really need picks. See what you got. Jason saying he's seen the podcast. Gear says, let's look back at the Drew Holiday rumor. Should Danny have given more to get Holiday this offseason? It definitely would have helped. It definitely would have helped. But to me, I still feel like there's something in I could definitely be wrong here, but I feel like there's something just like so mentally wrong with this team regardless of the players out there. Like, I truly don't see, and maybe I'm being the idiot here. I don't see the difference in play without Jaylen. Now that he's injured, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we have no chance. All these same effort issues and the hustle and the grit, that's still just not there. Maybe the points reflect differently with Jaylen out there, but the same sort of fundamental issues are present to me. So it's like, you can interchange, you can bring players back, you can have players be out for a year, and there's still this sort of like, wow, this team does not want to get up for big games. They don't want to lock down when they need to lock down. They don't want to try. And if a guy talks shit to one of the best players in the league, Brad sits his ass on the bench. It's frustrating. Ben says, you're right. Kemba's almost untradeable unless you trade him for a salary like Kevin Love. Otherwise, who's going to risk assets with his dog knee? Yeah, exactly. And again, maybe they go and trade him and you do get something worth it like that. But it's like, I don't want to trade Kemba Walker for another Semi Ojeleye and, I don't know, maybe give us a young guy, Aaron Nesmith. Like, believe in Nesmith or not, all of a sudden you're getting two players for one player. Oh my God, yeah, but their knees are fine, but you don't know what you're getting. Like, even Kemba Walker, at least you know what type of player he is. Smiling down 30, whatever. Like, fine, that's a negative. His knee's a negative, but the guy can go off for 30 points if you need to. He's a veteran. He clearly is a good guy with these players, the young guys. Like, Kemba does have the positives, even if there's so many negatives. And if you can at least cover the void of some of those positives that he provides, then I'm on board. But I'm not trying to trade Kemba just to trade him because he's not worth the money, Because you're going to get guys that, even combined aren't worth the money if that's the case. Justin's saying Danny Ainge is not making any moves. Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time. Like, I was shocked that he did something at the deadline this year. He says, I missed Terry Rozier. Terry did, he dropped the fat one in the playing game. Like, he didn't come ready for that, I guess. But if you look at him all year long, like we've talked about on the stream before, Terry Rozier versus Kemba Walker, I am taking Terry Rozier 100% of the time this year. Not even close. But it is kind of tough. Like That's so hindsight. Like, back then, you guys know I'm the biggest Terry Rozier fan. Would I have said 3 years ago that Terry Rozier's better than Kemba? I don't know. But hey, it's where we are now. Moon says, trade Jalen for Karl Anthony Towns. We need players with some emotion. He's probably one of the only guys out there that I would trade Jalen for. That's just because I believe in Towns so much. And I know I've struggled. Like, I'm not like I would think about that. Like I said, he'd one of the ones that I would trade Jalen for. I'd have to think about it. But I really love Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's like still young too. Like I would love him on the Celtics. Jalen's a huge price tag, but I love Karl Anthony Towns. Ben says, even with Jalen, we wouldn't beat the Nets. Dan and Tony probably behind the Nets moving the ball as much as Nash. That's true. And I forgot that he became an assistant to them too, to be honest. So, honestly, yeah, it probably does lean towards the coaches a little bit too. They have some minds there. Like Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni. Those guys just know offense. They live, breathe, sleep, eat. Did I say live, breathe? They love offense. Ball movement's probably no stranger to them. Brad saying, well, it's not surprising. Caesar as bad as we thought. Don't think Brown would have made a difference. No excuses. Outcoached and outplayed. Yeah, it's fair. I don't think there's any way to dispute it at this point. Guys, if you are watching, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Periscope, Facebook, Twitch, anywhere else we are, make sure you head over to YouTube as well. We're only going to take a few more comments, and then we are going to close up shop here. But Brad says we need major overall changes and some key trades. Quit wasting time and picks. Need to win now. Aim needs to make some good deals. Need some new attitude and talent. Get Brad, not Brad Stevens. Get this Brad. Get you, Brad, in the front office there, because I'm in the same boat. I don't want picks. Like, I know people say, and it's not the worst take the way this is headed, but people are like, oh, like, I wish we lost the play-in game. At least we'd get a lottery pick. Like, I don't want a lottery pick because Danny Ainge isn't going to trade the lottery pick. He's going to take a Romeo Langford. He's going to take an Aaron Nesmith. Like, I don't need more picks and young guys on this team. Get me something that's, I could taste right away. Mandy says, Kemba smiling down 30. Pissed me off, man. I get that he's positive, but geez. Yeah, and no. There's no, like, we'll give Kemba a womp womp. Like, that, you can't do that. Like, I don't care if you are if you know Durant or you know Kyrie, you've been around. Like, I don't like the smiling down that much. And I get it. Everyone talk, oh, Kemba's got a great smile. He's always smiling. Sportsmanship type of guy. Bull. If you're getting blown up by 30 in a playoff series for the team that got you to replace the guy you're playing against, let's keep the smile. The smiles to minimums. And let's try and win the game. Instead of being, oh, nice shot, Durant. Oh, my God. Brad says, like and subscribe. It's the best show on YouTube. I think we are going to start closing up shop. I appreciate that, Brad. If you aren't subscribed yet, guys, we are here live for every Celtics game, me or KJ. I know he's been doing an awesome job filling in for me tonight. But make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as we do this. We'll take a couple more comments, I guess, here. I see him coming in. Ben says, if you're the GM, who do we keep? If I'm the GM, there's only a few guys that we keep. Like, I want to keep Jalen. I'm not shopping Jalen. If Minnesota says, hey, you want Karl Anthony Towns for Jalen, then I consider it. But I'm not actively shopping Jalen. I'm keeping probably Tatum, maybe Fournier, just because you did risk a lot of the TPE money to go and get him. So let's not let him go for nothing. So maybe Tatum, Fournier, Jalen. And that, I mean, not to say Fournier is at that caliber. I'm using that more of like a strategic level. That might be all I'm looking for. Like, honestly, I love Marcus Smart. I love Robert Williams. But if there's trade chips that you have, it's those guys. Like, no one wants Grant Williams, Semi Ojeleye, Carson Edwards, Luke Cornett, Draymond. No one wants these dweebs. Like, the Celtics don't have this plethora of, let's go make changes. So if it has to be, a Marcus Smart to get this team better, I'm there. I think Marcus Smart, I'm not shopping him category. And same thing with Robert Williams, but you don't have this like, okay, well, let's go make moves and get a star in here. You don't really have that to trade because I don't want to trade Jalen. Then all of a sudden it falls to Marcus Smart and Robert Williams in my mind. So maybe those guys are on the block. And again, I'm answering this question as, who do I keep? I'm not saying get rid of Smart, get rid of Robert Williams. But I will say this, and this is my prediction. It's been my prediction. I think I said it on the podcast. this offseason, when we come back next year, this team's going to be different in one of three ways. And I think one of them is unlikely now based on Danny Ainge's comments, but I think we see a new coach, a.k.a. Brad's not here. That's one. I think Marcus Smart's been traded on another team, and I think maybe, they work out maybe an extent, like a sign. I don't know. Robert Williams is also gone. Those three things. The money with Robert Williams, I get it can be kind of confusing with trying to extend him and whatnot. But Brad, Smart, and Robert Williams, I feel like for some reason I get the feeling, an educated guess, that one of those guys is considered like a movable object for the Celtics. It's one man's dumb opinion. Gear says Kemba probably wearing a Yankees hat out of the game makes it even worse. Mr. GG saying Danny, Brad, fire Brad, fire Danny, sell the team. Brad saying watch the Grizzlies. They're great in fight, looks like the Celtics a couple years ago, not this crew. Was glad to see Fournier show some emotion, called Durant a little bit. Yeah, and then he sat. It was so annoying that they just sat him right after that. Like, come on. The guy shows fight. The guy talking smack to one of the best players in the league. Clearly not giving a shit out there, and you're just going to go sit him. Annoying. Ben says, you're right. That's the problem. We have EuroLeague players, not NBA quality. That's the thing. And everyone talks about, let's get this team better in the offseason. Let's do this. Like this. You look at this lineup. Like, nobody's taking Romeo Langford. I don't care if we feel like he has potential. Nobody's taking Aaron Nesmith. Oh, but he shot 53% in the month of April. Great. Like, no one's taking him. Those guys you might as well keep because maybe they'll turn into something. Second-year guy, rookie, like, maybe they'll be good. But no one's going to shell out for Aaron Nesmith. Like, I heard on the radio, they were talking about, like, oh, now that Aaron Nesmith's playing, well, it's like a while back. Let's try and get Bradley Beal. It's like, come on. Like, I'm all for getting Bradley Beal. But the Wizards literally might break their phone. They hang up so fast. If your offer is, we'll give you with Aaron Nesmith and a couple picks. Like, what? Gear says, if you completely replace every player on this team, do you think the ball movement stays the same? If then it's probably a coaching issue. Tatum is going to get frustrated with the same results every year. Tatum, like, that's what I've talked about on the show before, right? I'm like, I know I hate saying, oh, I'm worried about sports. I'm worried. I'm scared. I'm worried that Tatum and Brown will, if we have another year like this year, next year, Tatum and Brown are going to say, what are we doing here? And, but their contracts aren't going to be up and yada, yada, yada. If there's anything we learned this season and maybe last year, hell, if there's anything we've learned in the last decade of the NBA, if a player wants out, a player's getting out. So this team needs to show steady improvement and steady sort of building around Tatum and Brown if they're going to want them to stick around long term. But if you replace every player on the team, if they're passing to better players, I do think the ball movement will get better. So I think that, the ball movement out there, I'll say this, the ball movement out there relies on the players, but having that as like the top of mind, let's do this out there, guys, that falls to the coach, and I don't think the Celtics really have that. I don't think Brad's out there saying, hey, guys, move the ball. And if he's saying it, it's not translating through because we've seen ISO ball all year long. Gear says, look at the Bucks with guys like Forbes. We can't be afraid to pick up some of those guys. One of them will turn into a good player. Yeah, I mean, just take easy options. Give me a new guy. He's good at something. Let's see what he go. Give him a shot. Gear says, should Tatum and Brown be getting blamed for this ISO-only ball movement at all, in your opinion? So they should get blamed for it, but they can't hold all the blame. So, Gear, the biggest way I can say, okay, well, Brad Stevens needs to do something about that is when they were playing, I think it was the Sixers. Brad Stevens on national television, I'm sure I've said this on the show before. National television says, yeah, we need to stop the ISO ball. Like, we need to stop the ISO ball. The ISO ball doesn't look good. What happens? They go to halftime, they come back, and all they did was ISO ball. So Brad Stevens tells millions of people on the TV, but what? Did he not tell Tatum or not tell Brown? Because if he told them what he told us, they wouldn't be ISO balling anymore. So it's one of two things. Either he was just a coward, tail between his legs, didn't tell them, or he told them and they said, screw you, dude. Like, I'm not listening to you. Neither which are good. So I do think that he deserves a lot of blame for just saying, okay, well, this isn't right that you're playing like this, but not doing anything about it. So I think that is a big issue. I agree with you there. But, all right, guys, I think we are going to, I'm red and sweaty enough. I think we're going to close up shop for tonight. See you back here next game. Hopefully we're talking about a win. I don't even know at this point. In fact, I'm almost at the point of saying I don't even care at this point. I do care because this team has me in handcuffs and I can't do anything about it. I'll love this team till whenever. But hopefully we are talking about a win, so I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Make sure to like and subscribe. Peace out.